on the list of African countries with the lowest fuel prices. Well, worldwide, the West African country is ranked 48th, giving its average petrol price of $1 and some 29 cents per liter as of April 2025, according to globalpetrolprices.com. Well, Libya retained the number one position in Africa with the lowest fuel price of 0.027 per liter on the African continent. It was the topmost globally too. So if you didn't know, now you know. From 13th to 12th on the positions in Africa. Let's look at some key trend observations so far. For the month of January, we're talking about crude oil price. It started at some 73.83 and it rose to 76.72 by mid-month. And that was a plus 3.9% increase. There was a peak in February at 81.08, and that was in dollars on February 1. So it means a 9.8% increase from the start. And that, if you like, it sort of corrected itself to 76.50 by mid-February. So if you do the calculations, you're looking at some minus 5.6% from peak. There was a decline in March as well. But there was a brief uptick in April to $72.57 on April 1. And the current price is standing at $70.82. And that was for crude oil. Let's speak to Benjamin Nsia. He's the Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Mr. Nsia, thank you so much for joining us this morning. What do you make of the trend so far?
You're welcome and good morning. I think that the trend is quite favorable to the Ghanaian petroleum user. If you compare recent prices of these products on the international market to earlier windows in the year, I think that prices are on the downward trend. For that matter, savings of petroleum users, especially that targets the consumption of fuel, will begin to increase. So it is something that I think will help households and then maybe ensure that they're able to save well and redirect some part of this expenditure to other investment or other household expenditure to improve their livelihood.
Benjamin, the expectation would be that while it is looking good on the global market, it should reflect at the pumps in Ghana. When should we expect something like that?
So I think beginning this evening or maybe tomorrow, we shall expect some of the products, especially LPG and then diesel, to plummet locally. So export price of these products beginning tomorrow will decrease. Petrol is likely going to be stable because petrol as a refined product on the international market saw a 2% increase. So prices may not increase because the city also saw some appreciation. So it's likely going to be stable. But for the month of May, because crude oil prices, and there is that correlation between crude oil price in decrease and then price of the refined products also plummeting. So there's that direct correlation. So we are expecting that since crude oil prices have fallen from the 70 we know to around 63, then what it means is that in the month of May, refined products also decrease, and that means the petroleum user locally is likely going to get about 5% decline in the price of petroleum products locally, especially at the pump. That must also, I must add that also depends on the volatile nature of the cedi or the stability of the cedi against the dollar. If the cedi continues to remain stable or even sees some appreciation against the dollar by May, which is the first window of May 2025, then the 5% projection that we are putting on will be a reality. And that if that continues, it means that by June, some of the products, especially petrol, may be sold around 12 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos per liter, and then diesel around 18 Ghana cedis, 40 pesos per liter. But there's also this experience where we've observed that anytime indicators are becoming favorable to the petroleum user, the industry or the businessmen within the industry adjust their margins upwards. For example, if you look at the data from November, you've realized that OMCs are making margins around 4 Ghana cedis per liter, which is too huge. So we insist, or we think that the regulator, and that is MP, must ensure that this price drop on the international market is reflected locally, so that no business person takes advantage and keeps margins higher, so that the petroleum user here doesn't benefit from this full price effect.
Benjamin, we know that a lot of factors will go into how the situation will be in Ghana, but another concern is how sustainable this good news can last.
The petroleum market is very volatile, and it is because we import almost 100% of what we consume locally. It depends on international market factors. There are two indicators that we use in certain prices, apart from the statutory ones, which are the fiscal policy on the price build-up, or the taxes on levies, or the distribution margins on the price build-up. There are two main indicators: exchange rate and also international market price. So if the international market prices continue to see plummeting or become too volatile to the advantage of the local user here, then it is going to be sustainable even to the third quarter of this year. But if anything changes, especially what we call the bullish sentiment, geopolitically, there are certain crises that also begins to surge these prices on the international market. It means that by the third quarter, prices are likely going to begin to peak again or begin to pick up, and that also goes against us. But for that, we don't have that volatile nature now. We think that the American government wants to make sure prices stay lower to affect Russia. The European market wants to make sure prices stay lower to affect Asia and other oil-dependent countries. I think that prices are likely going to stay low. And if they continue, that means that we are going to benefit. But we must also be prayerful, or maybe we must urge the Ministry of Finance through its fiscal measure, and also the Bank of Ghana through its monetary policy measure, to ensure that the cedi becomes stable or even appreciate against the dollar, because there's also evidence that anytime fuel prices begin to decrease, the cedi sees some stability or even some appreciation against the dollar. If that happens, it means that the Ghanaian petroleum user will be benefiting from the cedi appreciation against the dollar, as well as a decline of the products on the international market, and that becomes a two-way benefit to make sure that prices are pushed downwards further.
So beyond the concern about cedi volatility and the need to stabilize the cedi amongst others, for the state, is there any role they can play? For instance, some agencies, there's a mention of the Tema oil refinery, the bulk oil storage and transportation company, amongst others. What role can they play to ensure that this good news reflects at the pumps, reflects in the prices of petroleum products, amongst others?
So for Tema oil refinery, I think what they can do is to ensure that there's availability of products across the country, because within our zonalization policy, they have storage facilities mounted or planted across the country in Bupe and Bolga. And one thing, if you look at the name of BOST, is bulk oil transportation, storage and transportation. That is BOST. So we urge them to also ensure that the transportation, which is the distribution aspect of their objective, is done effectively to ensure that we have products across the country. There are recent times we've heard that in the northern part of the country there are no products. There are no products because BOS has not pushed products to that part of the country. If they're able to do that, I think that there will be that energy security around those areas. Another side I can also say is that, yes, these days we've seen BOS doing trading or maybe importing petroleum products into the country. Yes, they should be able to import, but that must be done in addition to their main objective of reserving strategic stock. I think this is the best time for them to reserve stock so that when prices begin to peak or prices begin to increase, they push this stock on the market to make a lot of revenue. I think reserving is their mandate, and that is why the Ghanaian pays them 12 pesos per liter for them to reserve and also distribute these products across the country. They must ensure that that is done. Now, for private businesses, which are the buyers or the importers of these products, I think that the Bank of Ghana must also assist them with the needed dollars to be able to import these products into the country. If they have the available dollars to import these products, I think that they've done that over the years by ensuring that we have energy security when it comes to petroleum products locally. So these are the two things I think these companies should do. For toll, toll in recent times has not been refining, but I think that we need to relook at that because our energy security can not only, especially when it comes to petroleum, cannot be dependent on foreign interest and foreign geopolitical manipulations. I think we have the crude here. If we integrate our upstream to our downstream, we should be able to refine our products locally and ensure that they reach our market. But for now that they are not refining, they should also be there available to store products that buyers have imported to ensure that the throughput, where some buyers use certain terminal facilities of toll, they must ensure that it is done efficiently and effectively to cut down certain costs that are incurred by these BDCs. I think that when all these state actors or these institutions work efficiently and effectively, prices will continue to stay down to the benefit of the end user. But most importantly, I think it's the regulator, because there are a lot of evidence to suggest that sometimes, I think SEMSA did a work on LPG where we realized that even some buydecks were benefiting from what we call the bulk purchase of LPG through the auction policy, where their premiums are dropped to somewhere even $19 per metric, but these BDCs were charging as high as $300 per metric, even though their premiums have dropped drastically. I think that the regulator must ensure that this time they don't take advantage of the petroleum user by also hiking their premiums higher than expected. If you compare some of their premiums to cedis, I think some of them were charging 6 Ghana cedis per kilogram, and that is huge. And that is why today LPG has become one of the most expensive, even not one, is the most expensive petroleum product locally. It's because of some of this. I think that the regulator must ensure that businessmen do not take advantage of this price decline on the international market to hike their premiums and also their marketers' margin. Lastly, I think that we must also promote competition in the industry because I believe that competition helps the end user or the petroleum user locally. If you look at the market today, whilst others are selling their products maybe above 14 Ghana cedis per liter, others are selling around 10 all the way to Martin. Even so, others selling their products almost around 12 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos. So when that competition where others are selling cheaper, it forces those who want to sell higher to also be price competitive. So as consumers of petroleum products, I think that we should also encourage that competition where there are certain deviations from the higher price products to lower price products, so that it will urge all of us to stay safe. Because if you look at the market, sometimes the variance is too huge. Someone will be selling their product around, some companies will be selling their products around 14 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos per liter, while others are selling the same product around 12 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos per liter, which is about 2 Ghana cedis variance. It's too huge because these companies do not import the product; they all buy from the BDC. So why that huge variance? I think that the regulator must also ensure that we break that variance to promote that competition in this particular industry.
And Mr. now we know that Ghana has moved up in Africa's fuel price rankings. We have advanced from the 13th position to the 12th place, and that's for April 2025 in terms of countries with the lowest petrol prices on the continent. Now, we understand that Libya is still number one on the list. How can we reach up to countries like Liberia, that is ahead of us, Ethiopia, Tunisia, Sudan, and Nigeria? What are they doing that we can learn from?
So one, maybe, and I think that it also depends on the stability of their currency. Normally, when these indexes or some of these indices are put out there, I always want to look at the methodology used. Did they use direct conversion from the currency into dollar, or maybe they use what we call the purchasing power parity, where it reflects the actual prices that people pay in respective countries. So when they don't use PPP, normally it's difficult to compare these indices because the strength of the currency determines its index. So when Ghana cedi begins to depreciate to a worse form, it makes our products cheaper on the international market. So if you convert maybe 14 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos per liter into dollars, it makes you very cheaper. But comparatively, if you look at that component of your expenditure as a household, you spend more on maybe energy compared to other countries, even though other countries' indices show that their pricing products are very expensive. So it is about a dollar. But to your question, I think that our products are very expensive locally because of the whole value chain of the products and also the taxes on the product. As we speak, you pay for petrol, you pay with 3 Ghana cedis, 27 pesos per liter in the form of taxes, levies, and what we call the distribution margins. So some of the distribution margins, I think that we can do something better about them. UPPF is too expensive. It's just a freight cost of transporting this product from depots to retail outlets. Today we are paying 90 pesos per liter. It is very, very expensive because even the end beneficiaries of these UPPF do not take 90 pesos per liter, regardless of the equalization zone or beyond that particular equalization zone as specified by the Act. So we can do something about it by maybe reducing it. We look at primary distribution margin. We've been paying BOS 12 pesos since 2022. And one of the reasons why we pay BOS the 12 pesos per liter is because we want them to have distribution channels or pipelines put across the country so that these products will flow in from maybe APD to Kumasi and also maybe from APD to Manuata in Japan, or maybe APD to Akosombo terminal, so that we put these products via the Volta Lake Transport Company to Bupe and then push them to Bolga. But since we've been paying this 12 pesos per liter, BOS has not put that infrastructure, and not putting that infrastructure today, it costs me about 26 pesos per liter just to push product from APD to Kumasi. So PDM, primary distribution margin, which is an inter-depot margin, I think we need to critically look at it again because the petroleum user locally has been overpriced or overcharged for that particular distribution. And even in any case, we can even have a form where people can even load from APD, because it's happening today. People can load from APD and just sell it in Kumasi without even going to the depot in Kumasi to load and then also sell. It can happen. We even do it today. So primary distribution margin, I think that is overpriced, and the new MPA boss must really look at it. We have other called the sanitation and pollution levy of 10 pesos. Were added in 2021. I don't know whether they are serving their purposes, but what I want to say is that for petrol, we are paying 3 Ghana cedis 27 pesos per liter in the form of taxes, levies, and distribution margins. Diesel, you are paying 3 Ghana cedis 25 pesos per liter. in that regard. LPG, you are paying 2 Ghana cedis, 17 pesos in that regard as tax levies and distribution margins. But for LPG, the saddest part is that government reintroduced $80 per metric. And if you convert $80 per metric to cedis, you are paying in excess of 2 Ghana cedis, in excess of 1 Ghana cedis per kilogram on the price of LPG. So if you look at LPG today, it's the most taxed commodity in Ghana. Unfortunately, LPG is a clean cooking fuel. LPG has been encouraged under Sustainable Development Goal 7 that it is the cleanest source of cooking fuel in the household. We should not be going to wood fuel or other solid fuel. But today in Ghana, we are taxing LPG. If you go to India, people are being paid. We call it a credit transfer. People are even paid for using LPG, right? If you go to Senegal, they used to have subsidies. Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast used to have subsidies. Ecuador has subsidies. Countries are putting subsidies on LPG because they want even North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, they have about 100% penetration of LPG because of subsidies. In Ghana, no, we are doing around 36%, and our target is that by 2030 we should be able to do around 50% penetration. Yet we have taxes on LPG. Then sometimes you ask yourself, what is the policy focus? Policy inconsistency. So we are also expecting this particular government to really look at LPG and make sure that they put taxes off LPG, because if they want to promote clean cooking fuel at the household level, LPG is the way. And we even have LPG processing plant here. We are thinking of putting another processing plant. So if you begin to process this LPG and prices are higher and people are not able to consume, it affects the company. So I think that as a policy environment where we don't even know their policy direction, LPG must also be subsidized. Even if they are not going to subsidize it, they should make sure that they take off the taxes on LPG, because nowhere in the world, yes, in Togo there may be some VAT on LPG, but nowhere in the world do you hear people taxing LPG. It was in Kenya. When Kenya taxed LPG by introducing 8% VAT on LPG, consumption declined.
Right.
So it means that LPG has alternatives, unlike the other fuels. LPG has alternatives that when prices increase, people deviate from using it to using food fuel, which has health and other environmental consequences on your people and also on your economy.
Mr. Nsia, thank you so much for speaking with us on the program.
You're welcome, bro.
Yeah.